It must be hard being Santa. Not just because of the overseeing of all the toy making, or the delivering all the presents in one night, or even the fear of Tim Allen accidentally killing you and then assuming your form. No, the real problem lies with every year wondering who's planning to ruin Christmas this time. Starting with his face-offs against the Burgermeister Meisterburger, it seems that Santa goes up against some character every year bent on messing up Christmas for one reason or another. It could be the Grinch, the Ghost from Pac-Man, or even a certain misguided skeleton. Someone's always botching things up. And who could hate Christmas more than someone with the title of the Mistress of All Evil? That's right, Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty is naturally one of Santa's enemies. You see, from 1960 to 1987, and then again from 1992 to 1997, Disney had a cool tradition of publishing a Christmas comic serial in the daily papers around December. I was afraid that these stories would be lost to time, but Disney recently did something really cool and released them all in book format. Well, all but the 1986 story based around the Song of the South characters. Come on, Disney, you know that omitting it only makes me want to read it more. Well, anyway, it's a great collection with some interesting little stories, and I'll be sure to leave a link to its Amazon page in the video's description. Maleficent appears in 3 stories in this collection. Other villains like Captain Hook, Foulfellow, and the Big Bad Wolf appear in 4, but I think that the Maleficent stories are more interesting as a whole. The first story featuring the villainess is 1962's Sleeping Beauty's Christmas Story. Published 4 years after the movie came out, it appropriately takes place 4 years after Philip kissed Aurora. Prince Philip heads out on a hunting expedition for Christmas dinner, remarking, "This will be the happiest Christmas ever for everyone, except for the boar. And Maleficent." Ooh, Philip's tempting fate here, for Maleficent is apparently not dead after the whole dragon episode, but rather plotting revenge. She's pretty bitter about that spell being broken. Aurora spends a good amount of time wishing for seemingly endless presents for Philip, since not only is she royalty, but she has the 3 good fairies at her wish and command. For some reason, they're all wearing their Briar Rose peasant outfits throughout the story as opposed to their royal clothes. Old habits die hard, I suppose. That night, Maleficent's raven, Diablo, delivers a little present to Aurora's bedroom. The next morning, Aurora sees it's marked as a pre-Christmas gift from her royal husband to be opened immediately. The good fairy's spidey sense goes off, but it's too late, and the spell has put her to sleep once again. Oh, it's all good. A kiss from Philip will awaken her, right? But alas, this time the spell is true love's kiss-proof, prompting Philip to shed a single manly tear. Maleficent is in high spirits at this. "Oh, everyone is so gloriously gloomy, so marvelously moody, so deliciously dejected. Oh, happy, happy holidays!" Not even Santa's special elixir can save Aurora. It really seems like all is lost, so the good fairies send, I kid you not, a message through time and space to the future to see if anyone over there can help out. And who should help but...
La da la da dee ba ba! Ooh, that's beautiful!
Professor Ludwig von Drake. Von Drake had just been introduced a year ago on Walt Disney's anthology series, and was clearly popular enough to not only become a regular on the show, but the unlikely hero of the story. Yes, upon hearing the distress signal, Ludwig hops into his magical time machine and rockets back to the Middle Ages to astound some citizens who have probably never seen an intelligent, upright walking duck-man thing. "Whee, what a ride! Oh, what cookie people!" And to think, this was a year before Doctor Who premiered. Ultimately, Ludwig von Drake provides Aurora with a little pill that awakens her, proving that Rick Sanchez was right and evil spells can apparently be undone with science. On a final note of irony, it appears that Von Drake's cure was actually pretty simple. "Ah, want to know how I woke her up? I gave her a sleeping pill upside down! And it worked in reverse!"
Yeah, ain't that the kick in the head? I guess her curse just ain't what it used to be, huh, sir?
Sadly, we don't get to see Maleficent's reaction to this, but I'm pretty sure Ludwig just made her list. The next story is from 1967, Dumbo and the Christmas Mystery. One day, as Christmas approaches, Timothy Mouse decides to head out with his elephant friend to help Santa. "Look, Dumbo, we're just lazing around here doing nothing, but our pal Santa's up to his whiskers with the Christmas rush." But Santa isn't feeling his best. No one's been sending him letters, and he's wondering if he's lost his touch. This is a mystery that only a baby flying elephant and his mouse manager can solve. Apparently. As they fly over the city looking at all the gloomy faces, it appears that no one, not even Dick Tracy over there, has the Christmas spirit. And that's because the personification of the Christmas spirit has somehow been captured by Maleficent and Mad Madam Mim. The Sword in the Stone had hit theaters 4 years before this comic was published, and Madam Mim quickly became a popular character for comics artists to use. Even today, she's especially big in the Netherlands and Brazil, often teaming up with beloved characters like Majika de Spell and the Beagle Boys. Seeing her with Maleficent is rather odd since Mim is out of her gourd, and Maleficent is relatively more stoic and serious. Their kidnapping of the Christmas spirit seems to have been a bonding experience, and they're in a really good mood. To the only two gay ones in all the land, whoops! To the only ones with the real Christmas spirit, ha ha ha! The Christmas spirit, who's drawn with considerably more detail than the other characters, manages to get a sparrow to relay the message to Dumbo and Timothy about her captivity in the Castle of Evil. Luckily for everyone, the tower was built to hold a magical spirit, but not a flying elephant. Dumbo makes quick work of the bars, and ends up even beaming Madame Mim with one of them. Maleficent gives chase and shoots lightning bolts at them, but the bolts are thwarted by a lightning rod. She and Mr. Dark should really have a talk. The Christmas spirit's freedom reminds everyone what the date is, and smiles appear again all over the world. Santa is suddenly swamped with letters and unable to fulfill everything in time. None of his elves appear to be around, but... what can an elf do that a dwarf cannot? And so, the 7 dwarves are flown in to help with the last-minute workload, and once again, everyone has a Merry Christmas. The final story, despite not having Ludwig von Drake or Madame Mim, is my personal favorite of the bunch. It's 1970's Santa's Christmas Crisis, and it stars a very surprising hero. If you've ever seen Sleeping Beauty, you may remember that Maleficent had an army of weird impish creatures, officially called her goons. I love these guys. They have remarkably unique character designs, my favorite being this bug-eyed one who looks like a cross between a frog and a bat. The goon who takes center stage in this story has no official name, nor is he given one in the comic. My good friend and I affectionately call him Cradle Goon because of his dialogue from the movie.
In all the cradles.
Cradle?
Yep. Every cradle.
When I found out these creatures weren't going to be in the Angelina Jolie movie, I was pretty disappointed. In this story, the Christmas spirit wafts through the kingdom and even spreads to the Forbidden Mountains where Maleficent resides. It touches the Cradle Goon, who is inspired to up and leave the castle. Now I understand why Maleficent and Mim were so intent about wiping out the Christmas spirit in that other story. It could cost her a whole army, no matter how inept they might be. Good help is hard to find. Now, though, Cradle Goon does not know where to head.
No use going there. They're afraid of me. There's only one place for me to go.
Somehow, the steadfast Goon marches all the way to the North Pole, hoping that Santa Claus will take him in. Santa is initially suspicious of the Goon's sudden change of heart. Maleficent, meanwhile, has figured out her Goon has left, perhaps because he's the only one who can actually talk. Naturally, she's not happy. While the Cradle Goon is assigned to guard the reindeer, he admits that guarding is the only thing he really knows how to do, Maleficent sends Diablo the Raven to deliver some poison disguised as a snack for said reindeer. The Raven leaves a telltale feather that does not go unnoticed by Cradle Goon, who stops Santa just in time. Santa decides to get revenge, but in a way that only he can. With Cradle Goon as his personal bodyguard, Santa sneaks into Maleficent's castle and sprays her with some aerosol coated with the Christmas spirit, which I'm learning from this story is super powerful, just not powerful enough to escape from a tower. The power of Christ compels Maleficent to suddenly act a lot nicer to her goons and spray them all too. Soon the Christmas epidemic has spread to her whole castle, and Santa and Cradle Goon depart. Don't mess with Santa, kids, or he'll really get into your head. The funny thing is, these comics I've covered are some of Maleficent's only comic book appearances, aside from the Kingdom Hearts manga and a few foreign comics I can't get my hands on. Despite being one of Disney's most popular villains, and arguably one of the most powerful, she hasn't had too many goes on the funny pages. Perhaps it's because Disney has other witches to work with. As I mentioned, Majika Dispel and Madame Mim are quite popular, along with Witch Hazel from the 1953 Trick or Treat cartoon. Then there's the Snow White Witch, who also appears with some frequency. All 4 of these witches are also somewhat on the comedic side, while Maleficent is a more serious character. She wouldn't feel right taking on Chip and Dale in a series of 10-page stories like the old hag does. Even these Christmas stories with Maleficent getting defeated rather easily seem kinda strange in that regard. She's too dignified, which is something of a blessing and a curse with her, I suppose. And so, that about wraps up Maleficent's Christmas vendetta. As I said before, she's just one of those many villains who Santa needs to worry about every year. Godspeed, Mr. Claus. Godspeed.